so far this season, I want to get your quick thoughts on who you think the best team is in the NLL as of right now, and who would be your MVP frontrunner if you had to pick a player.
Okay, my two top teams right now in the National Lacrosse League would obviously be Rochester and San Diego. Out of San Diego, out of the West, they're 4-1, and obviously Rochester's 6-0. And my MVP right now, I'm a little biased here, but I would go with Josh Byrne because I think he's really stepped up his game this year, especially with the loss of Connor Fields to the Rochester Nighthawks. But I'm so happy that Rochester franchise is doing well. The other night, they got their first ever win against the Bandits, and I just think it's great for the sport there. And Josh Byrne has been outstanding. Obviously, the great Dane Smith has been well as well. But to me, as of right now, to answer your questions, Rochester's the top team, and Josh Byrne, I would go with MVP for now.
Yeah, and like I keep saying, until somebody beats Rochester, they have that number one spot. Being undefeated, 6 games now that they've won, it's not a 1-0 or 2-win undefeated streak. 6 games this early in the season that you win is tough. And so until somebody can prove us otherwise, they are, I agree, the top team in the league. And it is great for the NLL to have a team at the number one spot right now that had a tough season last year and struggled to win games, that now is 6-0. And as you mentioned with Josh Byrne playing tremendous lacrosse, him and Dane Smith, the dynamic duo, absolutely MVP frontrunners. And so it is exciting to watch as the season unfolds. My last question for you before we wrap up is, which team do you feel like is the worst team? I know it's hard to talk about, but who do you think is in that struggle, on the struggle bus right now across the NLL? I know we've talked about the Riptide, the Desert Dogs, the Warriors, the Swarm. Is there anybody that you've seen so far that's just got you shaking your head?
Well, everybody would say Vegas because they're an expansion team, but I would say right now, in my opinion, would be the Georgia Swarm. They're 0-4, and that's kind of a surprise. And the New York Riptide too. I thought they would be a little bit better of a team as well. But I guess right now, to answer your question, the Georgia Swarm, since they're 0-4 and they haven't won a game yet. But one thing about the Rochester team before I wanted to leave, let you go, against Buffalo. They were down in that game 8-4, 8-5 at halftime. In the second half, they limited the Bandits to 4 goals in the second half, 3 in the third period or quarter, and then 1 in the final quarter. And that's not easy to do because the Bandits have an explosive team. So, but to answer your question there, definitely the Georgia Swarm as of now, but there's still plenty of time for them to turn around. It's still early in the season yet, and there's still opportunities.
Absolutely, Chris. Starting 0-4, they are, as we know, the final team that is winless across the NLL, which is something we've actually talked about on Daily Dive. Who would be the last team undefeated? Rochester. Who would be the last team winless? The Swarm. And so, as you mentioned, exactly, not only on paper, but just from what we've seen, haven't been able to get over that hump to get a victory yet. And I agree with you. Rochester not only winning to knock off Buffalo, that game was special for many reasons. We saw a team that was able to make a comeback, that down to the wire, back and forth game, and able to come away with the win. So, Chris,